Hi, my name is Grant. I am working on restoring a Makita 2040 planer, and yeah, just kind of want to document the process. Here you can see some pictures of the machine when I got it, and I'll show you real quick here the after pictures. There you can see the finished machine, nice and polished up, all pretty and working. So if you just wanted to see a before and after, there you go. If you're interested in seeing the whole process, keep watching, and I'll go through the details of the entire restoration. All right, we got an old piece of pallet wood, nothing special, pretty dirty. Let's see if we can fix that. Now, before this project, I didn't know what a planer was. So for anyone else who's in that boat, thickness planer, its job is to take a piece of wood and make it all the exact same thickness. Now, this will not remove the warp from a board. So if you got a board that's twisted or warped, this is not the right tool to fix that necessarily, but it will get it to a uniform thickness. A planer works by having two long blades that are attached to a drum spindle that gets spun around and takes off all those little wood chips. So in front and behind that spinning blade are two big rubber rollers that have adjustable height that pinch the material in between themselves and a steel roller on that metal table, and that rolls the material forward into the blades and makes sure that it moves at a uniform speed. That helps get a nice finish on the material without it slipping or stopping. Cut back to past Grant for the whole process of repairing. I will show that a little bit here. So yeah, it's got several issues. Very just dirty to start with. The bellows are bad. The belt is still okay. The blade looks okay. Obviously, just so we've got some issues with the drive rollers. The chain was missing. The drive sprocket that goes on here was broken. The idler was missing, and we have some damage to the casting. I'll have to fix that. So yeah, it needs a new chain, some new sprockets. It's also missing the bearing that goes on this side of the drive roller. It sits in this square, and it's also missing the spring and probably at least one more piece that goes up in there. So I gotta find replacement parts for those. And yeah, just a lot of cleaning that needs to happen. So yeah, first step's just going to be to get it all cleaned up, and then start doing some disassembly, and yeah, just generally start getting this thing looking how it should be. Should be pretty cool. These are supposed to be very nice planers when they're done. They are discontinued, at least in the US. I think they do still make them in Japan, but they don't export them anymore for whatever reason. And yeah, so yeah, this one drive roller was out. I've cleaned this up a bit already. So yeah, it's missing its, well, no, it does have its drive sprocket. I just got that off. But yeah, the bearing must have come off at some point. You can see the shaft is completely just chewed up. So I'm going to have to weld and resurface this. The other side looks okay. So yeah, that's the bearing that's supposed to go on the ends there. So you can see the shaft diameter there. That's what it's supposed to be over here. And it has worn down a whole lot. So I think that the bearing on this side got off somehow, and then they ran it for a long time with no bearing there, and so it chewed up the housing for the bearing. You can see there's a circular groove that's worn its way in there. That's not supposed to be there, so I'm gonna have to repair that as well. Hopefully I can just fill that with some weld and file it back flat. But yeah, so I think it must have run it like that for a long time, and then at one point the bearing must have caught in something. Maybe it moved all the way out and got caught in the chain somehow, or it just bound up in here, and then I think that must have caused this break here, caused the roller to fly off, broken the chain, broke the drive sprocket. So yeah, I think there was a catastrophic event, and then I think the thing just sat outside for a long time. So this is even looking a little bit better. I blew off some of the dirt that was on here. But yeah, that's pretty substantially dirty. But underneath, the paint actually seems to look okay, which is surprising. But yeah, the rollers are in pretty good shape, all things considered. The blade is still pretty sharp, actually. So yeah, just needs some TLC, and I'm excited to see how it turns out. I have no idea if the motor works. The power cord needs to be replaced. It's yeah, it's pretty chewed up, so I'll need to replace that. Yeah, it's a weird mix of messed up parts. The adjustment handle for the table, so you'd spin this and that would raise and lower the table, that's gone. So I need to make a new one of those. And yeah, that's what we've got for starters here. I'll probably do some updates as I go. Yeah, kind of like to document this process a little bit. So there you go. Here is the current state of the project. So yeah, you can see right now it's upside down. I got the motor out, and I went ahead and took apart the motor and cleaned everything and got it put back together, and it works. I had to strip off the old connectors, but I hooked those up to power, and the thing fired up right away. It's got a ton of torque. It went from 0 to 60 like nothing. So yeah, this thing, it still works like a champ. So it looked pretty good on the inside. It had a lot of dirt kind of accumulated, but yeah, other than that, the brushes still had a decent bit of life in them, and yeah, it looks pretty good now. So that's great. I had a couple of strip screws that I had to cut out. I had to cut some notches in so I could hammer them out. But yeah, like I said, we got the table moving now, so we got that moved up a bit. I'm deciding if I want to try and get these rollers out, the table rollers, and clean them up. I think I probably will try and get them out. But yeah, so that's the current project state. It's looking pretty good. We got all the parts sitting over here on the table. So yeah, I've got a pretty good idea of all the things I need to order now, and so I can actually get this all put back together and made alive again. So it should be pretty good. Alright, gonna talk through the little things that got fixed. First we had the casting, just layered that with wire pieces and JB weld, and formed it with some painter's tape to keep it from spilling over. Take that off, and boom, looks good. Good trick there to use painter's tape to keep stuff from spilling over when you're JB welding. Next up was this piece, same story, JB weld, good to go. Rusty rollers, sandpaper and a drill, polished right up, looks good. This was a bit harder. Had to fill it in with bronze brazing wire, then had a friend machine it down on his lathe, and we're back to good to go. You can see the fit on there with the new bearing, and yeah, it worked out. Then we had the missing cover. We needed to fabricate a brand new one of these. They don't sell them. So took some sheet metal, bent it up, took some measurements, and just did a little sheet metal fabrication and chopped it up and bent it into shape, welded it up the corners, and boom, there you go. Nice new cover. This is a spindle lock piece that was missing and they don't sell, so I had to go ahead and model up a version of it and 3D print. And there you can see it on the machine. So that works to lock the spindle. When you turn it the other way, it lets it drop down. This was a core for the handle that I made. I had a big wheel, but it didn't fit, so this core was a spacer. Just took up the extra space so that I could use that big metal wheel here. And there you can see it in the middle there with the wheel. So yeah, now it works on there nice and tight. This one of these pins was missing, so I had to go ahead and fabricate a new one, weld it on a little piece of scrap metal to a piece of rod that was the right thickness, cut it down, polished it up, and it works perfect. A couple things to buy. We had filler wire, washers, snap rings, some screws, springs, some keys, a chain, the power cord, and then we had a couple things that we had to buy it from the manufacturer. The bellows here, the bearings, and this idler roller here that was missing. And then last one was this. Gotten a bit of progress. One of which is we found a sprocket that will work to replace the broken one. Took a while to find it. It's a weird size with a 12mm shaft diameter and a 4mm keyway and a size 35 chain. So 35 is has a 3/8 pitch between chain links. That's the size. So I've got a new chain, I've got a new sprocket. I have to cut the sprocket down to size. The only one I could find is too thick. I need to cut it about in half. So after getting the sprocket cut, there you can see it in place, installed with the chain. Next up was just a bunch of disassembly and reassembly and cleaning. So I had to take the top off in order to get the new bellows on and clean up those shafts really good, as well as replace the oil rings that were in the various places. Cleaned up the table with angle grinder and a flap disc. Got the new rollers in there. Got the motor reinstalled. Got the wires pulled through. Reassembled the base onto the back after pounding those pieces of angle back flat, and then putting the top back on. That took a lot of pounding, but eventually we got it in. Got the drive gears and rollers all put in place. Got the table up and down movement all installed. Here we can see the final product. The Makita 2040 planer. Back in prime condition. Yeah, you can see we've got a new cover made for the gearbox. They don't sell the originals anymore. Obviously, you could use some paint, but that can happen later. Yeah, all the rollers and surfaces have been cleaned and polished. Right now it looks a little dusty because I was doing some test cuts with it. Got the blades all resharpened. And yeah, got the base all cleaned up, got new bellows, polished the vertical shafts, re-oiled everything. It is looking quite nice. They do sell the original handles, but they're plastic, and I didn't feel like paying for them. So I repurposed an old just a wheel thing I had. I believe it went to a garage door. It was a dumpster find. But yeah, I 3D printed a core so that it would fit onto the shaft. And yeah, pressed it on there. It had set screws in place already, so I just had to tighten them down on there, and then um, got this old roller shaft thing and bolted that to it, and it makes a very nice handle for the table. So yeah, spinning that raises or lowers the table through the it's hard to film and do this, but yeah, as you turn this handle, it turns those gears down there, turns that screw, and yeah, raises the table up pretty nicely. But yeah, a lot of cleaning went into it, and then to finish it off, went ahead and mounted it on a little base with some casters to make it easy to move around. Placed the power cable. All right, enough talk. Let's hit it. Okay, I cannot explain to you how good it felt the first time I hit that switch and saw the thing turn on. Um, Man, I was so happy. I was dancing around the garage. Um, it was a couple months of working on this after work and in spare time when I had it. Um, and just to see something come so far was just amazing. Now, that last test was good, but it's a pretty small piece of wood. We've got a 16-inch wide planer here, so let's try something a little bit bigger and see how it does. For anyone who's wondering what the total cost of the project was, I spent about 220 bucks on parts and miscellaneous items for the planer, and a lot of work. But an equivalent heavy duty machine like this would be between $2,000 to $3,000, and I got this piece for basically for free with a bundle of tools that a guy was getting rid of. All right, here's the last bit of footage of just running a bigger board. Thanks for watching, everybody. As you can see, this machine makes quite a few chips when it's running bigger boards. So a future upgrade will definitely be to make something that goes over to catch the chips and go into a dust collector or something. Um, but it has been a very fun project. Hope you enjoyed, and yeah, enjoy the rest of the video of just seeing the planer work. Looky there. Beautiful. From painted board